Nestled in the rugged foothills of the Taurus Mountains in southeastern Turkey, near the bustling city of Şanlıurfa, lies a site that whispers secrets from the dawn of human civilization. This is Göbekli Tepe, a name that translates from Turkish as Potbelly Hill, a fitting moniker for the gently rounded limestone plateau that rises about 15 meters above the surrounding Harran Plain. The plain itself stretches out like a vast, fertile canvas, cradled by the headwaters of the Balık River, a vital tributary of the Euphrates. Here, on this elevated vantage point, ancient hands shaped what many now regard as the world's oldest known monumental architecture, a sprawling complex of stone enclosures that defies our traditional timelines of human progress. The site's artificial mound, or tell, measures roughly 300 meters in diameter and 15 meters high, built up layer by layer over millennia through human activity. This accumulation of soil, debris, and deliberate backfill created a time capsule, preserving structures that date back to a time when humanity was still largely nomadic, reliant on the whims of nature for survival. Geophysical surveys using ground-penetrating radar and magnetometry have revealed that the mound conceals a labyrinth of at least 20 large enclosures, with only a fraction, about 10%, uncovered by archaeologists as of early 2026. These surveys paint a picture of a meticulously planned site, where ancient builders aligned structures with geometric precision, hinting at a level of organization that rivals much later civilizations. The story of Göbekli Tepe's rediscovery begins in the modern era. During a routine archaeological survey in 1963 conducted by teams from Istanbul University and the University of Chicago, researchers noted scattered flint tools and peculiar stone fragments, but the site's true importance remained hidden. Dismissed as perhaps a Byzantine cemetery or a minor prehistoric scatter. It wasn't until 1994 that German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt, then affiliated with the German Archaeological Institute, revisited the hill, guided by local farmers who had plowed up massive T-shaped limestone pillars. Schmidt immediately recognized their Neolithic origins. These weren't ordinary stones. They were megaliths, protruding like ancient sentinels from the earth. Excavations commenced in 1995, a collaborative effort between Schmidt's team, the Şanlıurfa Museum, and the German Archaeological Institute. Over the next 2 decades, the digs revealed layer upon layer of astonishing complexity. Schmidt's work continued until his untimely death in 2014, after which Turkish prehistorian Necmi Karel took the helm, integrating Göbekli Tepe into the expansive Ta Tipler, or Stone Hills, project. This initiative encompasses a network of similar sites across Upper Mesopotamia, broadening our understanding of this prehistoric cultural landscape. By 2026, ongoing excavations and conservation efforts, supported by international partners and the Turkish Ministry of Culture and Tourism, have focused on detailed documentation rather than rapid expansion, ensuring the site's integrity amid growing tourism, in a landmark recognition of its global significance. Göbekli Tepe was inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List in 2018. UNESCO hailed it as one of the first manifestations of human-made monumental architecture, a testament to its role in reshaping our views on early human society. The site's visitor numbers have surged, with hundreds of thousands flocking annually to witness this bridge to our distant past. New facilities, including expanded paths and interpretive centers, were added in 2025 to accommodate this interest, while protecting the fragile remains. Radiocarbon dating, drawn from organic materials like charcoal, bone, and plaster residues, anchors Göbekli Tepe firmly in the pre-pottery Neolithic era. The primary construction phases span from approximately 9,500 BCE to 8,000 BCE, encompassing the transition from pre-pottery Neolithic APPNA to pre-pottery Neolithic BP. The oldest exposed layers date to around 9,500 to 9,000 BCE, with activity persisting until at least 8,000 BCE. This chronology positions Göbekli Tepe as an astonishing 11,500 to 12,000 years old, predating Britain's Stonehenge by roughly 6,000 years, and Egypt's pyramids by more than 7,000 years. It's a chronological anchor that forces us to reconsider the pace of human innovation. The site's history unfolds in stratified layers, each telling a chapter of construction, use, and abandonment. Older enclosures were intentionally buried with soil, rubble, and even fragments of earlier structures. A practice that not only preserved them remarkably well, but also suggests a ritualistic closing of sacred spaces. Newer builds were erected atop or adjacent to these filled areas, creating a palimpsest of human endeavor. This deliberate burial, often with clean fill, devoid of domestic waste, indicates careful planning and reverence for what came before. At the heart of Göbekli Tepe are its iconic enclosures, circular or oval arrangements of massive T-shaped pillars. Numbering at least 20 based on geophysical data, these range from 10 to 30 meters in diameter, encircled by low dry stone walls that link the pillars. In most, a pair of central T-pillars, taller and more imposing than the others, stand facing each other, possibly one supporting a roof of wooden beams or thatch, though no direct evidence of roofing survives. The enclosures vary in size and complexity. Enclosure A, one of the smaller ones, measures about 10 meters across, while Enclosure C sprawls to 30 meters. Its walls reinforced against the hillside slope. The pillars themselves are engineering marvels of the Stone Age, quarried from the local limestone bedrock, using nothing more than flint. Tools predating metal by millennia, were transported short distances, perhaps slid on wooden rollers or dragged by teams of workers. Heights vary from 3 to 6 meters, with weights reaching 10 tons for the largest. Their tishap is distinctly anthropomorphic. The broad horizontal crossbar evokes a head, while the vertical shaft suggests a body, many bare carved arms folded across the torso, with fingers pointing downward, and details like belts, loincloths, and even fox belt accessories, implying stylized human forms, perhaps deities, ancestors, or guardians. Geometric sophistication is evident throughout. The three oldest enclosures B, C, and to form an equilateral triangle, their centers precisely aligned, suggesting a master plan executed as a unified project. This required not just labor but coordination, surveying skills, and perhaps astronomical knowledge, as some alignments hint at solstice observations. Beyond the enclosures, the site includes domestic zones with rectangular buildings featuring polished lime floors, benches, and hearths, evidence of everyday life. Grinding stones, sickles, and plant residues from wild einkorn wheat and barley point to cereal processing, while a sophisticated water management system, including cisterns holding up to 150 cubic meters of rainwater channeled from rooftops, supported a semi-permanent population. The artistry etched into the pillars is breathtaking in its detail and variety. Relief carvings cover many surfaces, depicting a menagerie of wild animals: stealthy foxes, roaring lions, charging boars, graceful gazelles, sinuous snakes, venomous scorpions, lurking spiders, majestic vultures, elegant cranes, and even insects like ants and beetles. Abstract motifs intermingle, H-shaped symbols that may represent enclosures or cosmic elements, crescents evoking the moon, discs, possibly suns or stars, and enigmatic pictograms whose meanings remain elusive. One pillar stands out, the so-called vulture stone in Enclosure D. This monolithic slab features a large vulture, clutching what appears to be a spherical object as a human head, while below lies a headless human figure surrounded by birds and a scorpion. Nearby, a carved scorpion and snake add to the scene's intensity. Such imagery may relate to excarnation practices, where bodies were exposed to vultures for defleshing before burial, a rite documented in later Neolithic contexts. Other pillars show human elements, a rare naked female form, or a headless man with an erect phallus, hinting at themes of fertility, death, and rebirth. Faunal remains bolster this vivid tableau. Over 100,000 animal bones have been analyzed, overwhelmingly from wild species. Gazelles comprising 60%, aurochs, wild cattle, wild sheep and goats, boars, red deer, and birds like geese and ducks. Butchery marks indicate intensive processing, likely for communal feasts. No domesticated animals appear in the earliest layers, confirming the builder's hunter-gatherer lifestyle. Yet, The sheer volume enough to feed hundreds suggests large gatherings. Perhaps seasonal festivals, drawing groups from afar. The builders of Göbekli Tepe were Epipaleolithic and early Neolithic hunter-gatherers. Navigating the final throes of the Ice Age's aftermath, they lacked pottery, metal tools, the wheel, or domesticated crops and animals, relying on flint, knapping for blades, arrowheads, and scrapers. Yet, they mobilized labor on a scale unprecedented for their era. Quarrying involved pecking and grinding stone with harder rocks. Transport required ropes of plant fiber and wooden levers. Erection demanded pits dug with antler picks, and teams heaving the pillars upright. Estimates suggest 50 to 500 workers per enclosure, coordinated perhaps by emergent leaders or recent findings challenge the notion of pure nomadism. Domestic structures round to rectangular huts with stone foundations dot the site, equipped with grinding mills for wild grains, flint sickles for harvesting, and storage pits. Plant residues include wild barley, wheat, lentils, and chickpeas, processed into flour or beer-like ferments. A water supply system with channels and cisterns ensured year-round habitation. Tools for hideworking, bone carving, and bead making indicate craft specialization. This evidence portrays Göbekli Tepe not as a fleeting pilgrimage site, but where hunter-gatherers lingered, experimented with Satanism, and perhaps sowed the seeds of agriculture. The enclosure's lack of domestic features, no trash heaps, marks them as ceremonial spaces. The world's earliest known temple complex. Their backfilling, often with symbolic deposits like animal bones or broken tools, suggests ritual feasting debris implies banquets reinforcing social ties, exchanging knowledge, and forging alliances among bands. Carvings may encode myths, totems, or astronomical calendars. Studies propose pillar 3 as a lunisolar calendar tracking comets or seasons, though this remains debated. Göbekli Tepe doesn't stand alone. The Tepe region teems with contemporaries. Karahan Tepe, 35 kilometers east, mirrors it with T-pillars, animal carvings, and a massive 28-meter-wide central structure dated to 9400 BCE. Nearby yields over 50 structures from 12,600 years ago, including public buildings with benches and residential huts showing food prep and crafts. Sefer Tepe features T-pillars and human face reliefs. Other sites like Harbetsuvan, Topasi, Tozli Tepe, and the newly identified Mendik Tepe in 2025 extend this network, suggesting a shared cultural sphere across Upper Mesopotamia, where ideas flowed like the rivers nourishing the land. As we approach the 2030 mark in this narrative, let's delve into the most recent discoveries, up to early 2026, that continue to illuminate this enigmatic world. The 2025 excavation season was particularly fruitful, yielding artifacts that deepen our grasp of Neolithic life. At Göbekli Tepe itself, a life-size human statue was uncovered during restoration work, deliberately embedded horizontally in a wall between enclosures B and D. This anthropomorphic figure, with clearly defined head and torso, was likely a votive offering or ritual deposit, the first such intact statue at the site. Its placement echoes practices at nearby sites, where statues were interred as part of ceremonies. Nearby, additional human and animal figurines emerged, including a human-shaped bead and necklaces of polished stone. Karahan Tepe stole headlines with a groundbreaking find, a T-shaped pillar bearing a carved human face, the first of its kind across TAT. This 1.37-meter-tall stele features deep-set eyes, a prominent nose, an angular jaw, emerging as if from the stone itself. Excavations also revealed a new 11,000-year-old building, an amphitheater-like structure, possibly for gatherings, and colossal statues including a 2.3-meter anthropomorphic figure holding its phallus, with incised ribs and a V-shaped koyat. Artifacts abound, intricate jewelry, amulets, animal sculptures, boars, foxes, vultures, vessels, plates, and a bottomless bowl holding tiny figurines. Saberk's 2025 digs uncovered over 50 Neolithic structures, dating back 12,600 years. 5 appear communal, with T-pillars and benches, while others are domestic, evidencing food preparation, craftwork, and a human sculpture with a stitched mouth, perhaps depicting the deceased. This site underscores the transitional nature of Ta-Tipler, blending ritual and residence. Sefer Tepe contributed to human face depictions on a platform, one in high relief, half emerging with closed eyes, defined nose, and full lips, the other in low relief. These echo Karahan Tepe's styles, suggesting artistic continuity. Geophysical surveys in 2025 mapped additional unexcavated enclosures at Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe, while environmental studies confirmed a wetter climate with abundant wild resources. Cereal processing evidence strengthened, with grinding tools and residues indicating early plant management precursors to domestication. In 2026, as excavations persist under Turkish and international oversight, focus shifts to the site's full extent, symbol interpretations, and regional connections. Visitor enhancements, including a planned 2026 exhibition in Berlin featuring 96 artifacts, aim to share these wonders globally. Göbekli Tepe revolutionizes our narrative of human development. Convention held that agriculture birthed complexity villages, monuments, religion. Here, among hunter-gatherers, monumentalism emerges first, perhaps spurring sedentism and farming in the Fertile Crescent. The region brimmed with wild wheat, barley, sheep, and goats. Gatherings at Göbekli Tepe may have fostered cultivation experiments, igniting the Neolithic revolution around 9000 to 8000 BCE. As of January 2026, Göbekli Tepe endures as a beacon of discovery, drawing scholars and seekers alike. It offers tangible proof of our ancestors' ingenuity, their symbolic richness, and the pivotal shift from wandering to rooted life, a dawn that shaped civilization's trajectory.